Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're jumping right into a seriously profound piece of ancient wisdom from the Mahabharata. Specifically, we're looking at section 94. We are going to see if it can help us make sense of what is, honestly, one of the most deeply frustrating human experiences out there. Seriously, if you've ever felt like you're out there doing everything right, playing by the rules, while the people breaking every single rule in the book are somehow just winning, well, this explainer is absolutely for you. Let's unpack this together and see how this ancient conversation totally reframes how we look at success, morality, and justice today.
So, why do bad people prosper? Go ahead and let out a sigh if you need to, because man, this is an absolute gut punch of a dilemma. It's a question that's plagued philosophers, great thinkers, and honestly, probably you and me on a tough Tuesday afternoon. And what's so wild is that this exact dilemma is the entire emotional core of the ancient texts we're diving into today. Thousands of years ago, people were looking around, seeing totally unethical people thrive, and just asking the universe, why? But hey, before we can actually get to the solution, we have to really understand the problem. Section 1. The Good Person's Dilemma. Take Yudhishthira, for example. He is a righteous, ancient king, and he is literally at his breaking point here. He goes up to the great sage Lomasa and essentially says, look, I am full of merits, I've got good qualities, I play by the rules, yet I am facing just unprecedented sorrow right now. And you know what really twists the knife for him? It's looking across the aisle. His enemies, the sons of Dhritarashtra, are completely destitute of morality, yet they're prospering, they're thriving. You can just feel his grief, right? He's doing the work, holding the moral high ground, and just having to watch the unethical guys win the day. Yudhishthira asks his desperate question, and well, the sage Lomasa gives him an answer that is going to completely change how we view success. Section 2, the illusion of sinful prosperity. So Lomasa responds with a truth bomb that hits incredibly hard. He says, a man may be seen to prosper by his sins, obtain good therefrom, and vanquish his foes. Destruction, however, overtakes him to the roots. The really crucial thing here is that Lomasa doesn't deny reality. He totally validates Yudhishthira's observation. Like, yes, you will absolutely see people prosper through unethical means. They might even defeat their enemies and get crazy rich doing it. But, and this is the massive turning point, that success is a mirage. It's structurally unsound. Destruction is coming, and it won't just be a minor setback. It will overtake them completely to the roots. To really drive this point home, Lomasa unpacks some fascinating mythological lore using the tirthas and Dandavas, also known as the Asuras. Now, what's truly interesting here is that the Asuras weren't actually always the bad guys. Lomasa points out that back in the righteous age of yore, they were just part of the natural order. But then they made a choice. They abandoned virtue. They decided the rules just didn't apply to them anymore, and they fully embraced sinful prosperity. They are basically our ultimate ancient case study in why cheating the system eventually burns the whole system down right on top of you. So how exactly does that burn down happen?
Section 3. The Domino Effect of Ruin.
Lomasa outlines the unraveling of the Asuras with this terrifying precision. It's not just some magical curse. It's a very real psychological and behavioral chain reaction. It starts with step 1, pride. They get a tiny taste of unethical success and suddenly they are possessed with pride. Then, step 2, vanity. That pride immediately breeds vanity, which leads to, step 3, wrath. From vanity, you get wrath, and wrath sprouts pretty much every kind of evil propensity. Finally, step 4, shamelessness. They lose all sense of good behavior. They're no longer tethered to reality or normal societal norms. They just do whatever they want, completely without shame. And because they hit that ultimate state of shamelessness, because they became completely destitute of virtuous vows and good conduct, well, forgiveness and morality simply packed up and abandoned them. And when you are totally stripped of morality, what comes rushing in to fill that void? The text tells us it's kali, or adversity. The Asuras became totally devoid of reason and feeling. Their hearts were just pumped full of vanity. They even stopped performing their rites and sacrifices. And because their prosperity was built on this rotting, hollow foundation, destruction overtook them swiftly. It covered them in infamy until they were completely exterminated. Their prosperity was, quite literally, a ticking time bomb. Okay, so if the Asuras represent the path of ruin, what's the alternative? Let's pivot and look at the anatomy of true, lasting success. Section 4, the path of the gods. We've got a really stark contrast here. On one hand, we've seen the chaotic fall of the Asuras, abandoning virtue and just being consumed by pride. But the gods, they chose a completely different path. So what did they do differently? They actively practiced virtue. They cleansed their sins. And the result? They obtained lasting prosperity and great good fortune. It wasn't just a flash in the pan. It was enduring. And it was enduring because it was rooted in righteous action. Lomasa actually gets super specific about how the gods practice this virtue. He brings up this concept of tirthas. These are holy waters, seas, rivers, and lakes. The text says the gods visited the tirthas to cleanse themselves of all sins. Now, whether you look at this as an ancient religious ritual or just a really good grounding metaphor, the takeaway is incredibly powerful. Visiting a tirtha represents intentionally stepping away from the chaotic, unfair world, purifying your intentions, and regaining your clarity. The Asuras, all bloated with pride, stopped doing this, but the gods, they never stopped. So now that Yudhishthira understands the mechanics of true success versus sinful prosperity, Lomasa gives him the actual blueprint for reclaiming his own fortunes.
Section 5. Reclaiming your prosperity.
Lomasa tells Yudhishthira to follow the gods and completely abandon any practice that is evil. He calls this the eternal road. And here are the exact restorative actions he prescribes. Visiting those holy spots or tirthas, performing ascetic penances, which, implies immense discipline and self-control, making earnest sacrifices, and giving gifts or blessings to others. This right here is the proven method to invite good fortune. It requires active humility. It's the exact opposite of the Asura's blinding pride.
And, just in case Yudhishthira is still feeling a little skeptical, Lomasa drops an incredible historical roster to back up his claims. He brings the receipts. He lists these righteous kings of the past, Nriga, Shivi, Bhagirath, Ikshwaku, Maruta. By touching sacred waters and performing penances, what did they gain? Fame, sanctity, merit, wealth, and celebrity. This formula has immense, unshakable historical precedent in the lore. It worked for the great kings, and it's gonna work for him.
Finally, Lomasa brings the whole thing full circle, right back to Yudhishthira's initial burning frustration. He delivers this unbelievably powerful prophecy. The sons of Dhritarashtra, on the other hand, enslaved by sinfulness and ignorance, will, without doubt, be soon exterminated like the Datius. He basically assures the good king that his enemy's success, it's an illusion. Their pride has enslaved them to ignorance. They are currently on step 1 of that domino effect, and their ruin is just mathematically certain at this point.
Which brings us to the big question I want to leave you with today. How will you react to the sinful prosperity you see in your own life? When you see someone blatantly cheating to win, are you going to let it consume you with despair like it almost did to Yudhishthira? Or will you remember that domino effect of ruin? Will you stay on the eternal road, maintain your own discipline, and just let the illusion of their success eventually collapse in on its own hollow roots? It's a fascinating paradigm shift from the ancient world, and honestly, it's just as applicable today. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the text. Keep learning, keep seeking that clarity, and I will catch you in the next explainer.